So now we have estimated the volume of concrete that we need for the piles. We have estimated the amount of rebar that we need. It's now time to estimate the cost of these piles. We'll go into division 3 concrete, and this is going to be the template that we're going to use for our concrete calculations. So we'll start here by entering in this section of description, auger cast piles, right? So we need to find cost information for the auger cast piles. We will go to our website under Blackboard. We will look in under cost reference, and inside this cost reference I have several sources of cost that you can use along your project. This one, Granger, it gives you a lot of information in materials and equipment that are sold by this company. But don't only use these references. You are free to use references you can find on the internet in sites such as Home Depot, Lowe's, materials and equipment vendors. Anything that you can find will be fine. We're going to use this board piles cost data for the piles that we have estimated in our project. So I'm just going to click here to open the file a little bit bigger. I'm going to zoom to the extent of the page, and now we see that this page has foundation and load bearing elements. Starts with the driven piles. Those are not the type we're using. We're looking at board piles. So these are dried caissons, including excavation, concrete, 50 pounds of reinforcement per cubic yard. Does not include mobilization, boulder removal, and disposal. So this is basically the operation of drill the piles. We have open style machine drilled to 50 feet. We are drilling down to 31 feet, so that is covered by this line item. In stable ground, no casings or groundwater. This goes to 18-inch diameter. We know ours is 14-inch diameter, but this is the smallest one they have on this table, so we're going to use the information that we have. The way that we read this is the first column is the crew, second is the daily output, the third is the labor hours, the fourth one is the unit of measure, and then we have the bare cost, materials, labor, equipment, and total. So we see for the board piles, the crew type is B43. Daily output is 200. That means that they are able to drill 200 of these piles in one day, which converts on each pile to be 0.24 hours. The measurement here we see VLF. So this stands for vertical linear feet. That means that the unit of measure that we need to estimate the cost is the vertical linear feet that we're going to have in our piles. The cost of materials is 6.55, the cost of labor is 7, and then the cost of equipment is 1590. All of these are unit costs per vertical linear feet. So let's take a look of our Excel file. In our Excel file we have a cell for the crew, right? So we can type here crew B43. We have a daily output. We said before that the daily output is 200. Then we have labor hour. We said that the labor hour is 0.24. Then we have unit, each linear feet, square feet. In this case is vertical linear feet. The cost for materials is 6.55. The cost for labor is 7. and then the cost of equipment is 1590, right? Those numbers are taken straight from the numbers that we got from the on-screen, the RS Means book. Now we see that these numbers here do not have the right format. So I'm going to just select the entire range and format that in comma separated in comma style, which has two decimal for the decimals, and then the integers are separated with commas for the thousands. So now we have the crew, we have the daily output, we have the labor hour, which really we do not need these numbers. These are mostly to estimate the amount of time that we need that crew on site. What we really care is the quantity of work, how much work are these guys going to do, and then we need to estimate the total cost of material, labor, and equipment. If we go back to our calculations, we see that we have estimated here the rebar, we have estimated the reinforcement, we have estimated the volume of concrete, but the unit of measure that we have as per the table is vertical linear feet, right? So if we want to have the vertical linear feet, we need to multiply the number of items that we got from on-screen takeoff, multiply that by the vertical linear feet that we are drilling on each pile. So each one of these piles is 31 feet deep, right? Plus we are drilling an additional 2 feet, plus we are drilling an additional maybe 8-inch from the grade. So the total depth that we are drilling is 2 plus 31, that's 35, and then another 8 inches, 35. So we could say that it's approximately 36 feet that we are drilling with each one of these piles. So I'm going to type here approximate depth drilled, and I'm going to have here, just for my notes, 31 plus 2 plus another foot, so that's 34 feet, and that's going to be the number that I am going to use to estimate how much deep we are drilling in. If we go to OST, if we go now to our estimate, the quantity of work, it has to be the number of piles that we're drilling, right? So the number of piles that we're drilling has to be the number of piles that we counted with on-screen takeoff, which right now it's 83. So the quantity of work is going to be equal to 83. That's the number of piles that we measured, multiplied by the depth that we're going to be drilling. So that's 34. So that means that we're going to drill 2,822 feet, vertical linear feet, at a cost of materials 655, labor 7, and equipment 1790. So this gives us a total cost of 83,107.90. So this concludes the estimate for these auger cost piles. We see that in the sheet there is a space for the code. The code is given by the RS Means tables. So in this case, the first portion of the code is the title for the foundations and load-bearing elements. So this is 02450, and then it's followed by the bore piles 02465. 5 will be the number for bore piles, then 800, and then finally the number that we're using for this line cost is 0110. So we can enter these codes in the Auger cost pile code. We start with 02465 space 800, which is this number here, and then the last number, which is the line item. This is 0110. Okay, so this will give the code that we used for this particular line item from the RS means table. I can use the right hand side of the table to enter a reference for the cost. Cost taken from handout. The handout is called we took these from from board piles cost data. So if you ever want to know where did you get this number from, how did you figure out the Auger cost pile cost, it's basically looking at the line number 02465 800 0110 from the handout board piles cost data from Blackboard. So in Blackboard board piles cost data, we go to line item 02465 800 0110, and that is the source of the cost that we use to enter here and figure out how much are these piles going to cost us. This is the end of the calculations for the piles and the foundations. So please continue with the next set of videos.